this computer. All right, everybody. Hopefully you're joining us for our radio show, little pre-show banter. Kevin sounds really good. What the headset did I loan you there, or that you're using?
Is it a loan or gift?
It's a gift, I think.
That, yeah.
I think it's a gift.
Sennheiser?
Sennheiser. Sennheiser. Yeah.
Sennheiser. He's pretty good.
Doesn't he sound great?
And he kind of looks German, too, with now that he's saying German words with those glasses on.
Hey.
Kind of got to...
Can you do I guess you're going to clean that up on the video, right? Can you make fun about Nazis anymore?
No. It doesn't go.
All right, you're safe with the Jews. You're all right.
Yeah. That's springtime for Hitler, It's
yeah. By the way, make sure you see Outlander. It's wild. I mean, it's in its 6th year. They're shooting now.
Oh. That's my wife loves that show.
Does she really?
I don't get it. I do not get it. I do not. Well, other than the
was it on Netflix?
Porn scenes.
Yeah, four seasons are on Netflix, and then
softcore porn. Have you seen Bridgerton yet?
Yeah, let's not go Bridgerton. Jeez.
No,
Bridgerton's fantastic. Don't go Bridgerton's phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
You have to be a certain
I was not on board.
demographic to understand that.
No, I was not on board. It was kind of like Game of Thrones. I was like, no, I don't want to watch. In case it's like, well, we need to watch something. We got to spend some time together. Yeah. And so we started watching Bridgerton. And we binge watched it in a week. It was great.
Then you ought to like Outlander. Yeah.
Period piece for like younger people is Bridgerton. It's 18 to 25-year-olds.
Is that the demographic?
Softcore porn.
I don't know.
Yeah, you're close.
I would watch it. I'm just telling you. My recommendation, Bridgerton's okay, but I like Outlander better. All right, we're putting Randy to sleep. Look, are you up, Randy? You got it? You ready?
I'm good.
He's watching daytime TV. He's having a great time.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we got a lot of stuff to get to on this. Our first thing I think we're going to hit is mortgage
rate going up.
Rates going up a little. So let's hit that. All right. Let me turn this off.
Everybody watched the Fed chairman speak the other day?
I wasn't.
Did a little bit.
I watched the whole thing. It was actually fascinating. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try to see what he's saying. A lot of BS, but a lot of things for me to learn as a young guy.
All right, hold there. Let's get going. All right, here we go. Stand by. News Radio 840 WHAS, the Louisville Real Estate Show here with you till the top of the hour. Hopefully you're having a good morning. This is Bob Sokoler. And in addition to being a host of this show, I also own a team at RE/MAX Properties East. Great team. And we'd love to have you help. We'll talk more about that down the road if you are thinking about selling or buying. With us, Randy Rocky, Swan Financial, over at Swan Financial. He gets the job done. You can reach Randy anytime, 645-0736. Also, Kevin.
Good morning, Bob.
Good morning there, Randy. Kevin Dissler is with us. Pitt and Frank Attorneys. You can reach them at 895-9900. They also get the job done, meaning closing of your loans.
Hey,
My son Greg My son Greg does our marketing, photography, and so much more.
So much more.
Joining us as well. We're doing our COVID show as we continue to do this from either our offices or homes or wherever because of COVID. We're not in the studio, so. We'll be taking your questions a little later, but they'll be on email sent to me, and you can get your question in by simply sending me an email, bob@wesellouisville.com, and then subject line radio question, and then ask the question. We got a bunch of stuff we'll hit in a second. First, one of the top stories that we're following, mortgage rates are climbing a little bit. Randy Rocky, Swan Financial, is first going to give us a number that we all want to memorize. Go ahead, Randy.
Hi, NMLS number 26362. And rates have moved a lot, actually. They've moved, right at a half point. And, you're in the mid threes now on certain products and, the mid to high twos on other products. Yeah.
And we should point out that anybody who's been holding off, and there have been a lot of people who are thinking about refinancing their home. And they still can.
They still take advantage.
But they were holding off because they thought rates were going to go lower.
I don't know how they could have got much lower. And about 30% of people took advantage of it. They're still now there's still about 60 to 70% of people that have a loan currently could still absolutely save money. So, you know, the time is now. I would get in now, and I would not wait 1 second more.
So for the status, the story behind all this is that for almost 50 years, the 30-year mortgage rate has moved in unison with the 10-year Treasury rate. The spread on average has been 1.7%. So, Randy, why is that? Can you give us a layman's explanation of all this, or is that kind of just not able to?
Well, it's kind of changed. You know, the 10-year does play, but there's other indexes that started paying the 2-year note. Some things that were starting to play in the last year and a half, and I really don't know why that happened, but it became more prevalent than the 10-year, and they're, you know, it's still, both of them are really players of the game, but now both of them have gone up, and it's causing it's caused rates to move.
Just be aware that if you're thinking of a refinancing jump now, it's going to go up higher.
Yeah, I mean, the Fed just recently last week was on, talking about the state of the economy, taking questions from the senators, and they were talking about how, they're still going to be buying up the bonds, and that's not going to change. But obviously, like Randy's saying, there are different factors now that are, maybe it's a confidence thing with the banks, depending on, and maybe it's an inventory thing. There's a lot of things that I look at it from the outside issue is like, well, the Fed has the ability to move the numbers to help the economy move this way or that way. And when you see the inventory across the country, we're not just here in Louisville. This is literally nationwide, the inventory crisis that's going on. It is a crisis because there's just no homes on the market, and trying to get some traction and try to figure out how that works. So it's a very interesting thing to watch.
And Greg brings up an interesting point. This week, the number of homes on the market, normally about 3,000 this time of year here in the Metro Louisville area, they were down to a little below 1,000, which is crazy. To take
I'm trying to think that might have had something to do with the storm. It ticked back up, but it's low. Yeah. It's low. I mean, don't make no bones about it.
So historically low, right? And one of the things that we've talked about briefly on this show in the past couple of weeks is that we have a home that's on the market. It was a foreclosure. The bank wanted it listed in the $80,000 price point. There were, get ready for this, everybody. Here we go. Here are the numbers. There were, within a couple of weeks, 300 plus showings and 150 plus offers on this home. It will sell or close at about double of what it was listed at. That just goes to show you how desperate people are looking, both those who need
little context. Don't start a feeding.
I'm going there. Bob. Give me a sec.
Kevin and I was, we were outside talking to the agent who had this listed. Yeah. Granted, let's just say the bank didn't understand the value of the home.
Very true, but it also shows how desperate people are. And flippers. Well, flippers are out there. Yeah.
He was getting people from New York. I mean, this was so grossly underpriced that when in this case, it might have helped. Offers. Might have helped a lot, Yeah.
Cash offers, right? And it's crazy. So just know that this is I've never seen it that wild in the Louisville area. All right, moving on. This goes to Kevin. So we've talked about interest rates. We've talked about demand. Let's talk about the cold, icy weather that we've experienced, and who knows if we're going to get any more in the next couple of weeks. This comes from an agent. We'll call him James, who sent me this email showing the home. The sidewalk is icy. The buyer falls. Kevin, who's responsible at that point for any injuries that the buyer or buyer's agent may have? Can you help us?
Especially, like I said, prevalent at this time. It's a doctrine called premises liability.
Oh.
And I'm assuming that the agent was here in Kentucky. Mm-hmm. But the concern always is you're an agent. Greg is, let's say, because I know that you're the brains of the outfit, Bob, so that Greg's out there working every day. So if Greg's showing the property and say it's my house and there's snow and ice all over here. And your question is, if someone slips and falls, who's responsible? And then the quick answer is, of course, every good attorney is going to sue everybody. But you'd sue the agent, the broker, and the homeowner. And there's actually a case in Kentucky that talks about The obligation, especially with snow and ice, it used to be, okay, Randy's coming up. Surely he sees there's some ice on the sidewalk. We've had ice in 3 storms. Surely Randy has the good common sense to be careful coming up the steps. And so Randy does not, and slips and falls, and then he wants to go after Greg and Bob and myself, the homeowner. Well, the Kentucky courts have kind of said, well, in the old days, it's kind of an open and obvious issue. But they've kind of since then said that it's kind of incumbent upon the homeowner first to make sure it's completely clear and free of ice. And the agent, when they go for the open house, needs to kind of make sure that they do a tour to determine if there are any type of situations at the residence that could cause people injury. And it's basically an obligation on the homeowner and the agent to make sure that when you invite people in like Randy, that they're going to be safe when come in and look at the home. So you have to be reasonable to safeguard that when you invite Randy in, it's going to be safe.
Well, all right. So you're referring to agent. I want to make specific details more obvious. Are you saying it's the obligation of the seller and the seller's agent, or the seller and the buyer agent who is showing the house that are on the hook here?
No, seller agent, right?
The seller agent. Yeah. You're going to, let's say, have an open house or have someone come and look at the property. It's incumbent of you, and especially I could be down in Florida as a homeowner, so that if you have the listing, it's your responsibility when you invite in people to make sure that when you invite them in, it's a safe situation. We're talking ice and snow, but there's been a whole bunch about dogs. You invite someone in, you have a dog that's somewhat vicious. Ultimately, it's agent's responsibility and the homeowners to make sure you have a safe environment.
And it just looks nicer too. We had a couple listings, and with my wife and I, we went out, shoveled, salted. I mean, we made sure that in lockstep with our clients that they understood this was going to happen, and we went and made sure that their sidewalks were free of snow and ice. And that's just kind of what we did as far as how we go about it. And that just shows who you are. So it's above a safety thing. If you got people coming to see the house, if you got buyers agents and clients, random people who you don't know, clean it up, make it safe. It's just common sense.
Let's take this a little further, because I think any buyers, potential buyers, sellers, potential sellers, let's extrapolate this to the snow is going to go eventually. We're not going to have that problem, but we're going to have sidewalks, driveways that may have raised concrete
cracks,
parts, right? Cracks, trip hazards is what it's called by inspectors. So if a buyer and buyer agent trip on a trip hazard, who's responsible at that point? And let's just say
sounds the same to me.
The buyer and buyer agent trip, and there's no trip hazard, but they just happen to trip and fall anyway, going up a step or down a step.
Pandora's box is what we're speaking of. But
where are we there?
Well, and the law always talks about a reasonable homeowner, a reasonable agent. What would Greg kind of went into that a little bit. What would a reasonable person in a situation do? Mm-hmm. And you want to make sure that the premise within reason is safe for the people that you invite onto the property. And with respect to something that you're unaware of, I don't think you could be held to that standard. But if you do know that there's a dangerous situation at the property, it's incumbent upon you to make sure that that is safe before you invite people onto the property.
Got it.
Same with disclosures, right? One of our good friends always says, known or should have known, right? If you've known or should have known that there was an issue there, and you're trying to say that you didn't, I mean,
Coming up a little later on today's show.
And the key issue is what's reasonable.
What's reasonable. Moving on. 20 foods you should not be putting in the fridge. We'll talk about that. Also, if you want to see what sellers are saying about us, because we're doing a really good job, even with COVID. We had a great year last year. Go to LouisvilleSellersTalk.com or LouisvilleZillow.com to see what they're writing about us.
And if you want to see how we're marketing homes nowadays, let's go back to the Twitter engine because we're doing some really cool stuff. Go to the Sokoler team. Just type it in, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. You'll see some of the marketing we're doing. That's kind of cool too.
Or go to Louisville3D.com. All right, we got them all in. Done. Okay, done. Yeah. Moving forward. Randy Rocky. How important is the cost of flood insurance when you or one of your loan officers and a loan officer at any mortgage company are figuring out what payments are going to be?
Very important for a couple of reasons. Number one, the consumer really does need to know what their final payment is going to be with taxes, insurance, homeowners insurance, I should say, flood insurance. And the second thing is, flood insurance is a moving target here recently. There's been some other go up, and we're in tune with that. My company does a great job with that, and we let the consumer know, and you should let them know the good, bad, and ugly. And there are companies that are not, and then they go to the closing table and it's $60, $70, $80, $100 higher. And it's a very sad situation. It's just another mark on the industry that we don't need.
Well, let me put you on alert. You need to sit up and take note of this. I saw this story. I said, mortgage companies are going to have a problem with this. Flood-prone homeowners are possibly going to see a major rate hike.
Oh, yeah.
FEMA insurance change.
And already have some.
Yeah.
Yes.
We had a client recently where we had knowledge that this was coming down the road. And when we disclosed to them after they had put the offer through, and we had done our due diligence once the offer was through, it was a very fluid situation. It's a hot market. As soon as we found out that there was raise in flood insurance, they backed out. We made sure then to market the property publicly that flood insurance was going to be necessary and that FEMA was changing it. We ended up selling the property because we were forthright and forthcoming, and there's a need. But we see people that are now having to move because they can no longer afford their payments because it's being ramped up. I mean, it's here. It's ridiculous, and I'm upset about it.
That is a great point, Greg. It's a very serious situation, and it's sad. I don't know. I wish I had another word to say about that, but yes, Greg. It's good to see you guys. You guys are on top of that stuff, and I'm very proud to work with you on that scenario.
Let me jump in
on those type of situations.
We appreciate that, but let me just jump in. This major overhaul of the nation's flood insurance program is just months away. A new data released this past Monday, by the First Street Foundation suggests hundreds of thousands of homeowners in the riskiest locations. I don't know that we have locations.
We're talking coastal, mostly,
but I mean some that are along
some here.
The Ohio River. I think that could qualify. But the most riskiest locations across America could face massive rate hikes starting in October of this year. The research group estimates the average rate needs to quadruple, and in some cases more than quadruple, on the nation's most flood-prone homes. Keep an eye out for that. How much that will impact us here locally, not sure, but just raising your attention.
Well, just one little thing. The flood zone is federally subsidized, and they were thinking about doing this about 4 or 5 years ago. And to give the listeners an idea, we had a fourplex on Gardner Lane, which most people don't think is a real flood prone. 3,000 to 30,000 was the jump that was going to take place.
I will tell you, I remember when this happened.
Wow.
And the National Association of Realtors went campaigning in Washington to get that number reduced. And they did successfully. But that may have only been a temporary stay on this. So we could be seeing this go back up again.
Yeah, the hair's standing up my arms. It's a real serious situation, something to really watch out for. And it can really change a lot of markets around the country. And,
when we come back,
is a big issue.
It will be a big issue. And not knowing is not an excuse, unfortunately, because you'll have some warning from the media. Coming up when we come back, 20 foods you should not be putting in your fridge. We'll go through those quickly, but it is an eye-opener. Here with us, Randy Rocky, Swan Financial. They do a phenomenal job and get you the best rates. Randy and his crew can be reached at 645-0736. Just as good on the closing side, Kevin Dissler and his team over at Pitt & Frank Attorneys. You can reach them anytime. And by the way, you can pick, not only can you pick the mortgage company you want to use to buy a home, you can pick the closing attorneys that you want to use to sell your home or buy a home. You can reach Kevin and his team at 895-9900. My son Greg is with us, who does our marketing, photography, and so much more. And you can reach me, Bob Sokoler, anytime we are looking for homes to list and sell, because guess what? We sell a lot of homes, and we're helping both buyers and sellers. We'd love to talk to you at 376-5483. We are back in a moment on News Radio 840 WHAS. News Radio 840 WHAS, Bob Sokoler, the Louisville Real Estate Show, here with you till the top of the hour. With us, my son Greg, who does our photography, our marketing, so much more. Also here, Kevin Dissler, Pitt and Frank Attorneys. Randy Rocky is with us, Swan Financial, at 645-0736. And you can reach me anytime, Bob Sokoler, at 376-5483. Mind you, thank you, Barbara Corcoran, who's a mentor and a friend, and so much more on her end. And you can see her on Shark Tank on ABC, Channel 11 here in the Louisville area. All right, so I found this story. I'm constantly being surprised by things you cannot do, things like that. And I thought this would be of interest, things you should not be putting in the fridge. Just to give you a test, let me ask Randy, Kevin, and Greg to quickly weigh in, yes or no, on the following. We'll do this a couple of times, then we'll just move into complete running through this thing.
These guys also don't touch the refrigerator.
Well, Randy doesn't. We know that. Yeah, he's got somebody doing it for him. Whole melons in the fridge or out of the fridge? Keep them in or out? Whole melons.
Whole melons? Out.
Whole melons, yes.
Out.
Out.
The fridge can cut the number of antioxidants in half. A USDA study found that watermelons at room temperature develop nearly double the levels of good compounds like beta-carotene, which promotes healthy skin and eyesight. So keep the melons out.
I have to disclose here, I used to work at Paul's Fruit Market, so I should crush this.
Yeah.
Shout out to Paul's Fruit Market, local fruit market. Make sure you go give them a shout.
Basil, in or out?
In.
In? Randy?
In.
Kevin? In? If this tropical plant is stored below 40 degrees, it turns black quickly. Keep it on the counter in a shady place. Yep. Potatoes. Let's move forward. Cold temperatures convert potato starch into sugar. Cucumbers. I always was a big fan of putting cucumbers in the fridge. I like them cool when cucumbers should come out of the fridge. The common mistake of keeping them in the fridge leads to watery and pitted cukes. That's interesting. Onions. For my friends like Michelle, who hates onions, these vegetables need air circulation to stay fresh. Tomatoes, cool air alters chemical pathways in tomatoes, so keep them out. Coffee, the moisture in your fridge causes beans to deteriorate.
No coffee in the fridge. That's not even a question.
Garlic cloves fare best in temperatures between 60 and 65 degrees. My favorite, hot sauces, you would think put them in the fridge. Nope, if they've got vinegar and preservatives, store-bought hot sauce, keep it from going bad in the pantry. Honey, the sticky sweet stuff should not go in the fridge. Sliced bread, although keeping the bread in the fridge keeps mold at bay, but it also dries out the loaf, so you might want to just store it in the freezer, take it out when you're ready to use it the night before. Nuts, for the optimal nutty flavor, the best to store the nuts in an airtight container in the pantry or cupboard. How about avocados? Anybody on avocados? Out on those?
Out.
Easy.
It's best kept at room temperature if it's hard or if it's ripe and plan to use on it right away. So that would be the story on avocados. And just finishing up the list, if I can turn the page here. Stone fruits like peaches, plums, nectarines, apricots, best at room temperature. Olive oil. Olive oil should be in a cool, dark place. Keeping it in the fridge can create a harder, more buttery-like consistency. Bell peppers. Mushy bell peppers are never tasty, so do not put them in the fridge. Pickles. It's not a big deal.
He just wanted. That's why he did the whole thing, was just so he could
keep
say
your
that.
pickles out of the fridge. Since
One joke.
they're already preserved and brine, they can remain in your pantry. And chocolate, keep chocolate at room temperature. Somewhere.
Wait a minute, Bubby's pickles, your favorite pickles, those go in the
I
fridge.
put it in the fridge. I know.
No, they get stored. Paul's Fruit Market also sells Bubby's pickles. Just saying.
Right. That's my favorite, Bubby's. Yeah. By the way, whole watermelon. Just FYI, you don't need to make room for a huge uncut watermelon in your fridge. You basically store it at room temperature, then cut up the part that you want to eat, stick it in the fridge overnight, let it get cool. So that keeps it fresher. So there you go. So some eye openers there.
Cold watermelon's delicious though. You gotta, once you cut it, put it in the fridge for a little bit, and then it's
especially the seedless is the best all the way to go. All right, so we've got some questions. I want to get to Randy and Kevin. I heard some background. So here we go. So Robert is selling his house. He's got a contract from a buyer that just had an inspection. They're finding problems that the inspector never found when Robert bought the house 4 years ago. Kevin, can Robert go back on the original inspector that he hired and ask them why they weren't found and get any damages because the original inspector did not inspect properly, he believes, 4 years ago?
Well, if you actually look at the contract with the home inspectors, usually that there's language in the contract that kind of relieves them of liability for that. I think that he mentioned 4 years, and the question is whether you can go back. And, the general standard is malpractice. The reasonable person standard goes by that. Would a reasonable home inspector doing an inspection have found that? And you've got a number of conditions that, well, maybe the item was inaccessible 4 years before. Yeah. But usually when you do a home inspection, take a look and review the document that you sign with the home inspector.
And see what the home inspector says.
Them from a considerable liability.
I have a feeling you are right on target.
Each of them have a different form.
This question going to Randy, and this actually should be pretty easy for Randy Rocky from Swan. Can Billy buy a home with no money down? No money down, Randy Rocky, for 10 points.
Well, not many questions are easy for me, Bob, but no, in that situation, yes, absolutely. He can get a no money down home. We just have to evaluate it. It is not as good a rate, which does increase your payment because there's more risk. Obviously, if you put zero money down, then obviously the investor is more scared of someone foreclosing. So I love to look at other options at 3%, 3.5%, rather than no money down. But if we have to, yes, we can go no money down.
By the way, if you want to see a rebroadcast of this show, you can go to LouisvilleAnswers.com. That's LouisvilleAnswers.com. We're recording this on Zoom for replay. Again, LouisvilleAnswers.com. This going to Kevin. According to Lauren, she's supposed to close on her first home next week. She's just been told there's a problem with the title. She cannot get title insurance. What is that going to mean to her?
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's usually that means that there's something, an unreleased mortgage in title. Perhaps the person in a prior deed did not execute it properly. If you cannot obtain a owner's title insurance policy, I think you need to seriously, first of all, investigate why. And if it's something that can't be remedied, you probably do need to get out of the contract. And if you have a lender is probably not going to loan on that without title insurance.
And can the buyer, in this case Lauren, go after the seller for damages for any reason? Because
in certain situations you can. If they were responsible for it, they're marketing the property, and say that Bob Sokoler happens to be marketing the property himself. He signed the listing contract, and Bob went out and got married in Vegas over the weekend. And
I did not, but go ahead. Yeah, right.
She doesn't want to sign it. This is a hypothetical purely. Right. But in that case, you signed a contract and you agreed to provide good title, and you can't. And the clause in the contract is good title such that is insurable, which means one of the large national insurance companies is really willing to insure the title. And if you can't do that, again, sometimes it's a family dispute. Perhaps it's an estate issue. Perhaps it's an unreleased mortgage. But you don't want to be buying that property. You probably need to give them time to fix it. And if they can't, then you need to move on. And sometimes you can get your money back out of your pocket for inspections and such.
Randy, an easy question coming in from Andy. He wants to know, what is an FHA mortgage when compared to a conventional mortgage, both the makeup of it and also what dollar figure?
Okay, yeah, FHA, there's an upfront funding fee that's rolled in the loan of 1.75%. Typically, an FHA mortgage has much higher private mortgage insurance, and typically it's for a consumer that has a lower credit score. Conventional, you can do 3% down, and there's no upfront funding fee, and usually the interest rate is as good or better than an FHA, but the private mortgage insurance is a lot less. And also on a conventional mortgage, you can get out of private mortgage insurance, where an FHA mortgage, you cannot. You cannot now. So much better advantage to go conventional if you can.
What I hear you saying is if you've got a good credit score, have some money for down payment, minimal more for down payment, you're going to be better off with a conventional mortgage. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yep. Okay. So
Yes, sir.
hopefully that helped and gave you an idea of some of the things that we deal with on a regular basis. We have come to the end of today's show already.
Conclusion.
We appreciate Kevin Dissler, Pitt and Frank Attorneys at 895-9900. We love them. We thank you, Kevin. Also, Randy Rocky, Swan Financial. You can reach Mr. Rocky and his crew at 645-0736. Thank you guys for being there. My son, Greg.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Hard at work, shooting, doing a great job. If you haven't seen this, Louisville3D.com. Take a look at some of the videos, pictures. Really phenomenal. Some of the stuff we've upped the game again for 2021. And you can reach him through me and not for other agents either. And you can reach me. Listen, we really do look forward to helping a lot of people this year. We'd tell you, if you're thinking about selling this year, don't wait until April, May. I'm talking to a lot of people who have talked to some people who say, wait till April, May, June. No. You're going to be in a pile of other homes that are listed, and you'll get maybe more looks, but you'll be much better off selling quickly and for more money if you get on the market sooner than later. Trust me on this. Doing this almost 17 years, I know this. Call me, 376-5483. We are out of time. See you next Sunday on News Radio 840 WHAS.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Everybody feels
Thanks,
good.
Randy. Hope you feel better.
Hey,
Are y'all watching
thank
this?
you, guys.
This NBA Top Shot new tulip craze. It's this new thing that Gary Vaynerchuk is pushing. It's all
really?
Bitcoin based, and it's these VFTs or these non-fungible assets. And I'm trying to figure this out, but they're selling for like thousands of dollars. People are making like digital videos of NBA dunks. Just look up NBA Top Shot. Just go to NBATopShot.com. It'll blow your mind what the hell's going on. It's another tulip boom. It's crazy.
I've known Gary Vaynerchuk. I've talked to him, interviewed him.
NFT. They're called NFTs, non-fungible tokens. Non-fungible tokens. Look
Any
that up.
thoughts about Tiger?
Poor Tiger. His legs. They said they're going to cover
never
for him.
play again.
They're going to cover for him though.
He
even if he had alcohol or drugs in him, he was by himself. He didn't hurt anybody. He hurt himself.
My wife said was he drunk? It's like 7:30 in the morning. It's like, was he drunk? Was he coming in or was he going out?
Well, he was. It looked like it was a company car because it had like the Aston Martin logo on the side, or what?
No,
was
Michelle thought it was a
Genesis.
Genesis. Yeah,
Was it a Genesis?
Genesis.
So it looked like a company car of some sort. It didn't look like
No, they gave him the car, so they put their logo on it, Genesis.
Or they drove on. They're like, somebody better scrape that shit off.
Yeah, but he advertises for Buicks.
Yeah, they did.
That's what I was like. That's the first thing I was like, is it a Buick? That was the first thing I wanted to know.
Buick.
I was like, is it
Buick?
Yeah, GM gets on the.
It's an SUV.
He
It's
shattered his
probably
ankle, so he's done.
Is that right?
yeah,
You can't nothing.
shattered ankle, compound fracture in the leg. That it was bad.
Yeah, but you don't necessarily need
At
that.
43.
What is it? 43. But you can pivot. You can pivot.
I think he's 43.
Yeah, he's 43,
But if
which
that's
is
his drive foot. If that's his drive foot.
Ooh,
It's his
Yeah,
right
and just won a major, 9 months ago again, and
poor
I'm
guy.
sad.
Poor guy.
Oh, poor guy. Poor guy. How much is he worth?
Yeah, poor guy.
yeah.
I think
Poor
he's
guy,
going to be okay. He might just be fine.
He can buy a new ankle if he wants to. It sucks.
Hey, let me ask you all a question before I go. It's like,
Yeah.
is this the craziest early spring ever? I mean, there is like nothing out there.
Nothing.
I mean, nothing.
You're so
We're
right.
talking about like one property, North Oldham County.
This is going to shrink the real estate agent pool back down to where it probably should be, because if you aren't a top agent who really knows their stuff right now and who has their ear to the ground, who's finding off-market properties and who knows how to win offers, which only a very select handful of people do, you're gonna lose. You're gonna fall apart. I mean, thank God. I mean, it's thank God we've got the position we're in, but I see a lot of people struggling.
All right, guys.
Yep.
Take care.
All right, guys.
Have a
See you
good
guys.
couple of weeks. So we'll talk to you. See you all
See you
soon.
later.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right.